emails that weren't going anywhere because they changed our email addresses. But yes, I'm happy to sign on to that, and I think it's really important. And at the same time, about 3 weeks ago, so I work in hospice, I'm a hospice social worker, and I always encourage my families that when their loved one comes on to hospice, file your FML paperwork if you are eligible right away, because you're going to be missing work and you're going to have to call in at the last moment, and you need those kind of protections. But there's lots of people that fall out or don't qualify for FMLA, or you know, if you've got someone who's terminal and it's a 6-month decline, you're falling out of the length of time that you're going to be protected under FMLA. So this gentleman who took care of his mom, she had brain cancer. She lived alone and she wanted to stay independent for as long as she could. The last couple weeks, she spent in last week of her life, she spent in a facility for the 24-hour care that she needed. And he worked for a local casino for 15 years. And he called me up a week and a half ago and said, I remember you talked about some type of protection, and my boss said everything would be fine, but I've been fired for cause, so I can't even apply for unemployment benefits. I worked for them for 15 years. I've been a dealer for 15 years, but over the past 2 months, while his mom was, you know, he had to rush out on all these little emergencies and call into work, and you know, his pit supervisor's like, it's fine, and ultimately ended up not being fine. So I do think that we need this type of legislation, and then we really have to encourage our families who are in this position to get the proper paperwork in place. And the last thing that they're thinking about is paperwork when they've got crises going on. But I couldn't feel worse for this guy who did everything right. Everything he's supposed to do as a son, and now he's without employment and won't qualify for unemployment as well. It's just tragic.
Barry, I have a 99-year-old father who lived with us until last year, and thank God is a World War II veteran. He gets a little help in an assisted care home that he's in. I'm going to meet with you next week. I want to learn more about that bill, so I remain open, but I'm not here to say I can support it until I understand it a little bit better, but I look forward to talking with you about it.
Next question.
Hi, this is for all of you. I'm just thinking that we have an opportunity now to follow the lead of other states and the heels of what's happening in Connecticut. I know you all saw what Governor Cuomo did. I'm a firm believer that if we pass legislation, it's a win for both constituents and legislators. It's a no-brainer. I think we can do that. Shoehorn in mental health, address gun violence, and everybody can take credit for this, and we can do it without offending very, very strong lobby that will not want this to happen. I think it's an opportunity for us to do something as a state vis-a-vis mental health, and we can make that the showcase of the bill, and at the same time reduce the sort of over-the-top gun purchases, the big magazines, the assault rifles, etc., which are fine in the Army, they're not fine on the ground out here. And I don't think there's anybody that's going to disagree with that. So I think we can find a way into the middle, but we've now got the lead of one of the most populous states in the nation, and we can copy it. I think this is the time. You know, there's the saying that nothing is, there's no idea stronger than the idea whose time counts.
I'm going to go ahead and let Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson start, because she's going to have to leave in a few minutes.
You'll see me duck out. I'll move as fast as I can as I head out so that we get to the next spot. I think it's, we already see the conversation starting, and then we already see a lot of passionate ideas. My legislative inbox is already full from emails from constituents and non-constituents on the issue one way or another. I think we have to be smart about this conversation, and I think we have to, more than anything, make sure that this conversation stays mature and based on facts. There's a lot of people in Nevada who just love their guns, and there's a lot of people who don't want the conversation to happen at all. There's a lot of people who go to the other end and say, we need to ban everything. I think what I would hope that a mature legislative conversation about And what I am most concerned about is one, absolutely support to our mental health community, and making sure that we're doing what we can to preempt a lot of this with good service-based providers and case managers to help folks out. Secondly, I hope we have a conversation about the amount of damage that's done in such a short time. These tragedies that happen in a matter of seconds, and the amount of damage that can be done in a matter of seconds, I think, for me is a big issue. I believe the shooting in Carson City at the IHOP, that was an 85-second incident, 85 seconds. And I know that the one of the big concerns for me is how many bullets can be discharged in such a short amount of time. Because you can have someone who has never been to a shooting range, never handled a gun, but with the amount of ammunition that you're discharging so quick, you're gonna hit something, because no one can move that fast to get out of the way. I'm just now getting educated on the bullets and the magazines and the clips and round dischargement and how many bullets go flying when you pull the trigger. This is an education process for me. And I'm learning a lot about it. And I just hope it's a mature conversation, because in the past sessions it's been a conversation that hasn't been able to get anywhere, because it kind of turns into a little bit of a circus, if you will, and we've seen it play out in bad ways so that nothing ever happens, and I hope especially among all of my colleagues that we make a decision to at least start a conversation. A good example of how kind of some things get shut down before you even get going will be during the interim. One of my colleagues wanted to just have an agenda item on an interim committee that not very many people attend, to say, you know, in the state of Nevada, we don't have a definition of an assault weapon. We don't have a definition of it. So how do we go from anywhere if we don't even define what it is? And it was removed off of the agenda in a very public way, in a way that said, we're not even talking about this. And I thought, gosh, how tragic that we can't even get the conversation going. A big first step for us would be just getting the conversation going.
I'm struggling with this a little bit, and my guess is that many of you in the audience are having the same struggle I am. And as a representative of a human services provider or organization or a nonprofit, you're saying, well, do we, our Human Services Network even, do we take a position on, you know, gun control or gun violence? Isn't that outside of our mission? You know, how does our board feel about that? They're going to be all over the map. So you know, I have my own personal feelings, and then I have very strong feelings about the need to expand mental health services, and I agree with Sean that this creates the opportunity for this conversation. I guess I'm still struggling with how that works. And I think the bottom line is, even if we have a great conversation, and the conversation says we need a lot more mental health services, then we get right back into the revenue question again, because you know, those services are not going to be free if we make a little effort. So I'm struggling with that in my professional role. I have my own strong feelings about that we've got too many weapons of mass destruction at our level, at least out there in the hands of folks that scare me to death. And I hope that the state can address that in a meaningful way. I don't know if I have the answer, and I'm not sure I have the answer for you and your board about how you approach this when it's kind of outside of what you would traditionally see as your mission. So I don't know if that was helpful, but it's what I'm struggling with internally.
Well, I already mentioned that domestic violence issues are definitely involved here with guns, so I'll have that to build on. But I think one of the things that I would pick up on is Teresa's request for maturity. I think, again, we can learn out in the national level that probably the NRA has overplayed its hand since this, and has driven many people who do believe in the Second Amendment very strongly, and self-protection issues are now saying, but maybe these automatic weapons are a little beyond the pale. And so if we all go in there and again discuss these issues maturely there, we don't need to, we have a much better chance of coming up with something that is useful and is possible. So I guess that's what I recommend.
Nevada's a long way from New York. And so we may not come up with the same remedy out here in the Wild West. But I think a mature conversation, I think, means a comprehensive conversation. And I think that's what Teresa was saying. I was quoted last week reacting to the fact that the state supported a business locating itself here that happens to be the creator of a Grand Theft Auto. And it's interesting, and it's a free country, and we're probably all glad they're coming here and giving nice jobs with good benefits to their employees. But shouldn't what happened in Connecticut and the national awareness around this particular problem mean that we would invite the CEO of that company to be part of a comprehensive discussion? Because, and mental health is huge in all of this, because I think we'd all agree the individuals that we're noting in the most high profile cases as of late certainly have mental health issues that we obviously aren't addressing. So there probably is an opportunity for you mental health professionals to be a part of what I hope will be a comprehensive discussion about this problem.
Okay, yeah, I understand from Eric that we only have 15 minutes left, so I'll make my question really quick. Boy, that discussion that we were just having is one that's longer than we can do this morning, for sure. Anyway, I want to get back to access to health care for a moment. And Consumer Direct is a statewide provider. We're a Medicaid provider. So, of course, we know that there's opportunity in Medicaid expansion. There's also challenges, and we have to remember that. Providers may have an opportunity to serve more people if they are a Medicaid provider, but provision of health care benefits, for instance. And if you're getting a Medicaid